Hello everyone, welcome to Harry's Book Cafe. Today let's talk about Maurice and Maralyn, a survival at sea story at its very, very best. Hello everyone. Now, for those of my American viewers, this novel is actually called A Marriage at Sea. For copyright reasons, there are two different names for the same novel here in the UK and in the US. In fact, this is not a novel. This is a narrative non-fiction. It's based on an actual historical event back in 1973. The story happened to a British couple, Maurice and Maralyn. Now, Maurice and Maralyn, they were married. They are completely different personalities. Maurice, on one hand, is quite an introvert. He doesn't really like social meetings. You can fairly call him an antisocial. Maralyn, at the other hand, is the complete polar opposite. She's outgoing, full of energy. Somehow these two met and got married, and much to everyone's surprise, the marriage worked out perfectly. They do have, however, one thing in common, and that is love of nature. Their best holidays is walking holidays in Peak District or Lake District here in the UK. However, over time, they just both had enough of the English society, so they wanted to move away. And their dream destination is New Zealand. However, they don't want to just flying over there, because what's the fun in just flying to New Zealand? They decided to sell their house and built a sailing boat and to sail all the way to New Zealand. And that's pretty much exactly what they did. They sailed all the way from England to the Caribbeans without any incidents. However, just outside the Galapagos Islands, there is a sperm whale sort of surfaced right underneath their sailing boat. And as a result of that, the whale damaged the hull of the boat. Now, despite their best efforts, however, they cannot save the boat. They jump into a dinghy and a life craft and watch their life-saving, so to speak, sunk into the Pacific Ocean. So the highlight of the story really started in that point, because everything come previously was really just giving you a background of the characters. This is a true story. They managed to survive 118 days. Can you imagine surviving 118 days? In the middle of water desert? They managed somehow to survive in this desert for 118 days. Now, the immediate concern for the couple is, okay, what we're going to eat and what we're going to drink. For the water, as you can imagine, is basically waiting for rainwaters. And they have their plastic containers with which they catch rainwater. However, the rainwater having to cascade down from their tarpaulin contaminated water, so they have to drink water that's foul, and as a result of that they are suffering from stomachache as well as diarrhea. For food, however, it's actually much more challenging than drinking water. The reason for that is because when the ship sunk, they don't really have any spare fishing hook. All their fishing hook sunk with the boat. Now, Maralyn, she came up with the ingenious idea of making fishing hook out of safety pins. And that's exactly what they did. And that's exactly how they catch fish and manage to survive. Alongside fish, they also caught turtles. In fact, they used turtle meat as a bait for the hook for fish. And there are some somewhat detailed descriptions of how they caught the turtle and how they killed the turtle and how they eat the food. It's not a horror story, so the description is very much hold back. So this is not a trigger warning at all, and I think most people will be able to take that level of description with no problem. You do feel, however, sorry for the turtle, but obviously in that circumstance, survival comes first. And this is the main part of the story, how they survived for that period of time. The scary things about surviving this long is that Maurice, because he wants to be completely cut off from the civilization, did not bring any radio equipment whatsoever, so they can't really call for help. And perhaps even more scary is that the fact that Maralyn could not swim. Her idea is that if the worst comes to worst, she will learn in a hurry before she drowns. That really gives a sense to you just exactly who these couples are. Luckily for them, they managed to drift on their dinghy to a shipping line. Unluckily for them, however, is that their flares were all duds because water has seeped through during the evacuation. So none of the flare actually went off. And because of that, ship after ship passing them by and just did not see them at all because the waves, they couldn't really see them. And because of this, Maurice really started to lose his sort of courage, his heart really, really rapidly. The fact that they survived 118 days or 4 months, it's because of Maralyn, the wife. She is this outgoing, beautiful, outdoorsy woman. She's really enthusiastic about everything in life. And she's the one who made sure that Maurice remained sane. There are few moments, in fact, mentioned in the book that Maurice was really contemplating committing suicide and killing his wife. But through the courage of Maralyn, this was averted, and also through her courage, they managed to survive this long. And even a hero or heroine here needs some courage, encouragement. And this is what Maralyn did. To keep her mentally sharp and courageous, she started to picture a future after they were being rescued, even though Maurice cannot see that future. Maralyn can see it pretty clearly in her head, and she communicated that rosy future to Maurice. And she, in her diary, writes down all the parties that she will have in the future, dinner parties, and she writes down all the food that she will prepare in those future parties. In addition, she also makes up recipes for baking cakes. And through those culinary imaginations, she managed to keep herself sane as well as her husband. So this middle part of the story is just fascinating about human psyches, how two different people, very different people, react to the same reality completely differently, and is just a fantastic study of human nature and human characters. The third part of the book really tells what happened afterwards. They became a instant celebrity for a long period of time, but much to everyone's surprise, even after this horrendous experience, they decided to sail again. Now, with all this being a celebrity, there's lots of book deals, there's lots of newspaper exclusive interviews, and with those money they managed to build another ship, and this time they want to sail not to New Zealand anymore but to Patagonia, the last wilderness of human civilization. And that's pretty much brings to the last part of the book, which is just what happened after Patagonia. By the way, the sailing to Patagonia wasn't really specified in detail at all. Then we come to the last part, which is Maralyn dies of cancer, and the last part is really describing how Maurice managed to survive after his wife's death, and then followed by his own death many years later. Now, the last part reads quite depressingly because it sort of makes you question what is the purpose of life. They had such a great marriage, they had such a fantastic adventure, and yet after Maralyn dies, Maurice's life became pretty much a living hell. This loneliness, this perpetual loneliness cannot be abated, cannot be alleviated by anything. The only way that Maurice can survive those days is by writing long letters to acquaintances about his experience with Maralyn on that sailing trip. In many ways, he recreated Maralyn, however temporarily, on pages that he's written. And the last part is really quite depressing. And I think this is where the constructive criticism for the book really come along. There's a few, right? The first thing is that, by the way, the writing is absolutely beautiful, but I think it can be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more, especially when they are drifting on the sea and experiencing bone-crashing storms. This part can really be more thriller-like, more popular fiction-like, but the book wasn't. It was really matter-of-factly, so I think many excitement was really missing. The other thing is that the middle part where the descriptions of this 118 days on the sea can be a little bit longer. At the moment, it only takes about 1/3 of the overall length of the book, which I think is a bit of missing the point. I want to know a little bit more about Maurice's reactions to things and Maralyn's courage to things. The biggest problem with this book is being a narrative non-fiction based on an actual true story. I wish there were pictures. There is no sections for pictures. And that's pretty much all the criticism I have for this book. Is a fantastic written book, if a little bit on the plain side. If you want to know about survival on the sea, if you want to study human characters, if you want to study how love, marriage actually survive under the most rigorous test, then this is the book for you. You won't be disappointed at all. Anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this review. In the next one, we're going to talk something a little bit more different. But anyway, if you like it, give it a thumb up and share with your friends. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheerio.